Harry is a 24-year-old man. One night he comes home by train. When he gets off, he has to walk alone on a quiet and dark road that leads to his house. While walking, a strange dog crosses his path. He looks at the dog, but suddenly the dog changes into a cat. Then the cat changes into a bear. After that, the bear changes into a monkey, and finally, the monkey turns into a beautiful girl. Harry becomes very scared. He continues to walk, but then he hears voices behind him. One of the shapes looks like a new bride, wearing jewelry and anklets. The anklets make a sound chon-chon as she walks. Harry feels his fear growing stronger, but he keeps his courage and does not stop. When his house comes closer, all the strange shapes and voices disappear suddenly. At that moment, Harry hears a deep voice from behind. The voice says, "You are very lucky. If you had spoken to us, I would have broken your neck. We are jinns." Harry feels shocked and runs home quickly. He is safe, but the memory of that night never leaves him. Harry looked carefully at the dog, but suddenly something very strange happened. The dog started changing its shape. In front of his eyes, the dog became a cat. Harry's heart beat faster, and before he could understand, the cat changed again into a big bear. The bear growled softly, and Harry felt a cold fear inside. Then the bear changed into a monkey, jumping and moving in a strange way. Each change made Harry more afraid, but he kept walking on the silent road, trying to stay strong. The monkey did not stay for long. In just a moment, it began to change again. Harry watched with wide eyes as the monkey slowly turned into a beautiful young woman. She stood on the road, looking straight at him. Her face was calm but strange, and her smile made Harry feel even more afraid. He could not understand how an animal had now become a woman. His steps slowed for a second, but then he forced himself to keep walking forward. The woman did not look like an ordinary person. Her face was glowing in the dark night, and her eyes were fixed on Harry. For a moment, he thought she was real, but then he noticed something unusual. Her clothes suddenly changed, and she now looked like a newly married bride. She wore a red dress with heavy embroidery. Her hands were full of bangles that shined under the weak moonlight. A gold necklace hung around her neck, and her ears carried bright earrings. But what caught Harry's attention the most were the anklets on her feet. Every step she took made a clear sound of chon-chon. The sound echoed in the silence of the lonely road. Harry's fear grew stronger with every passing second. The night was already frightening, but now this strange bride was moving closer to him. The road was empty, the air was still, and only the sound of the anklets filled the atmosphere. Harry tried to look down and avoid her eyes, but he could feel her presence. It was not the presence of a normal woman. It was heavy, mysterious, and dangerous. He wanted to run, but his legs felt weak. He told himself again and again to stay calm. "Just walk. Don't stop. Don't look back," he whispered in his mind. The bride's jewelry made soft clinking sounds, and the sound mixed with the anklets, creating a rhythm that seemed to follow him. Harry knew something was wrong. This was not a human being. No ordinary person could change shapes like this. Still, he kept walking. His heart was racing, but his steps did not stop. The closer he came to his home, the louder the sounds became, as if the bride wanted him to hear every move she made. Harry clenched his fists and tried to ignore her, but deep inside, he felt that the real horror was only beginning. Harry's heart was beating so fast that he could almost hear it in his ears. The sound of the bride's anklets followed him like a shadow. Every step he took, the sound of chon-chon seemed to move with him. He tried not to look back, but the fear inside him kept growing stronger. His mind told him to run, but his body felt heavy, as if something invisible was pulling him down. He forced himself to stay calm. "I must keep going. My house is not far," he whispered in his thoughts. He tightened his fists and walked faster, but the bride's steps also became faster. It felt as if she was matching his pace, never letting him escape. The jewelry on her arms made a faint clinking sound, mixing with the steady rhythm of the anklets. The whole empty road was filled with these sounds, and Harry felt like the world had gone silent except for this haunting music. Then, behind the sounds, he began to hear whispers. They were soft, like many people speaking at the same time. The whispers did not make sense, but they carried a strange, heavy feeling. Harry's skin turned cold. He knew he was surrounded by something that was not human. He wanted to cover his ears, but he feared any sudden move might make them attack him. The night felt endless. The road stretched longer than usual, as if time itself was slowing down. Harry's steps were quick, but no matter how much he walked, he felt like he was still stuck in the same place. The bride's anklets continued to sing in the silence, and the whispers behind him grew stronger. Even in his fear, Harry repeated one thing to himself: do not stop. Do not look back. Be strong. He knew only courage could carry him through this nightmare. Harry's eyes stayed locked on the distant light of his neighborhood. That faint glow was the only hope keeping him steady on the road. He whispered to himself, just a little more, just a little more. But the closer he tried to get, the stranger the night became. The whispers behind him began to rise, louder than before, as if many invisible figures were walking together. He could hear their breaths, their footsteps, and their murmurs. Some voices called his name softly, Harry. Harry. He froze for a second, but quickly reminded himself that answering or even reacting could be dangerous. His grandmother once told him never to respond if spirits called his name at night. Remembering that warning gave him a little strength. The bride was still there. He did not dare look back, but the jingling of her anklets told him she was moving closer. The rhythm of chon-chon mixed with the whispers, filling the silence of the road with terror. Every sound felt like a trap trying to pull him into the world of the unseen. Harry walked faster. His legs hurt, but he ignored the pain. He knew he was not just fighting fear, he was fighting for his life. The trees seemed taller, the shadows longer, and the road darker. He felt like the world around him was no longer normal, but controlled by the jinns who were playing with him. A cold wind blew suddenly, even though the night had been still until now. The wind carried with it a strange smell, half like burnt wood and half like rotten flowers. Harry covered his nose with his hand, but the smell stayed inside his head, making him dizzy. He shook his head quickly and focused on the light again. He repeated in his mind, do not speak, do not stop, just walk. Each step was heavier, but Harry's determination was stronger than the fear chasing him. Harry repeated the same words inside his mind again and again. Do not speak. Do not stop. Just walk. Those 3 rules were his only protection now. His heart was beating loudly, and his throat was dry, but he forced himself to keep moving forward. The road looked never-ending, yet he kept his eyes fixed on the faint glow of his neighborhood. That light was his only hope. The whispers behind him started to change. At first, they sounded distant, but now they were very close, almost at his ears. He could hear many voices at once. Some were laughing in a mocking way, while others were crying like children. A few voices even called his name softly, Harry. Harry. Every sound was designed to break his courage and make him stop. The sound of the anklets grew louder too. The bride was no longer far away. It felt as if she was walking only a few steps behind him. The chon-chon of her anklets echoed in the silence, filling the night with fear. Harry's body wanted to run, but his mind warned him that running might make the jinns attack. So he walked faster, but in control, not allowing them to see his panic. Suddenly, new sounds joined the whispers. A child's laughter echoed from the shadows. Then came a painful cry, as if someone was suffering. The road was filled with many voices now, laughter, crying, whispers, and the steady rhythm of the anklets. Harry felt as if dozens of unseen beings were surrounding him. His fear was at its highest, but he also knew one truth: if he stayed silent and strong, he might survive. Step by step, he kept moving, repeating his rule: do not speak. Do not stop. Just walk. His courage was now his only weapon against the jinns. At last, Harry reached the end of the lonely road. The faint light of his neighborhood grew brighter, and the shapes that had haunted him began to fade. The whispers behind him stopped, and the sound of the anklets disappeared as if they had never existed. For a moment, the night became calm again. Harry felt relief wash over him, but his fear was still heavy. Just when he thought it was over, a deep voice came from behind. It was not the voice of a man or a woman. It was something inhuman, cold, and full of power. The voice said slowly, "You are very lucky. If you had spoken to us, I would have broken your neck." The words froze Harry's blood. The voice then whispered clearly, "We are jinns." Harry's legs almost gave up, but with the last strength in his body, he ran to his house. He unlocked the door with shaking hands, stepped inside, and closed it firmly behind him. He leaned against the door, his chest rising and falling quickly, sweat covering his face. The nightmare outside had ended, but the memory had burned itself deep inside his heart. That night changed Harry forever. He understood how close he had been to death and how dangerous the unseen world could be. From that day on, he never traveled alone at night again. He always remembered the voice, the anklets, and the warning of the jinns. Some people say he was lucky. Others believe the jinns let him live only because of his silence and courage. But Harry himself knew the truth. The road was cursed, and the jinns would always wait for another lonely traveler. So remember this. When you hear whispers at night, or when someone calls your name from the shadows, do not answer. Stay silent. Be strong, because you never know when the jinns might be walking behind you.